Yep.
I'm just going to assume that was a yes. Friends, we are short too, but that's to be expected. Who knew that we could stuff everyone? There's a lot more people here than I expected to be here. This is the combined Solaris Nights Playtest. This is the final cast. This is the only cast meeting, actually. And it is also the investor returns video. So allow me to go through the... Here I am trying to get started, and Pondo the Mad saunters in at the last minute.
How's it going, everybody? Pondo the Mad here.
With that Twitch streamer energy.
And what's that out in the crowd with a steel chair?
That's Pondo the Mad. There were 50% more responses on the final survey than any of the other surveys. There were more comments than normal. By one vote, we have a stable champion. I would like each of you to guess who you think it is. I'm going to go in the order. Glimo, who do you think?
I don't know.
Well,
Dynamis.
All right, Spoon.
I'm going to go with the dark horse. I'm going to say it's Glimo.
All right, Sunderland.
I'm going to go with Seth because he was the overwhelming on second.
Dynamis.
Berryman.
Ludeman.
I'm going to go with Seth, too.
Baron.
Wow.
I bet it's Cosmo.
Pondo.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Excellent question. I want to say it's either Cosmo or Ferryman.
Okay. Salty Maker.
I think it's Kyle Morgan.
Okay. Kane.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with Seth.
All of you were wrong.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Wow.
Is it Brody?
Our stable champion is William the Hillbilly Schmidt with 3 votes.
Really?
Okay.
Well, thanks.
Nice.
That's
Congratulations.
unexpected.
Is
Good
it
job.
Brody? You're I was probably the last 3 times in a row.
Hey, Pondo. My first...
Someone just finished the survey in the last 30 seconds.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Are you kidding?
Seth is, now
tied.
Seth is now tied for first place.
Oh, my God.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
I
You know what I mean? There's probably someone on this call that's like, oh shit, I didn't do it.
I'm by one.
I refuse to lose.
Oh my God, I love it. You love to see it.
Amazing.
Primo has continued to be near the top as the top competitor, but Sergey Wolf has surged ahead of him for the final playtest session. And I think between the two of them and also the popularity of C-Bill, a lot of people seem to enjoy having very complimentary opponents. Captain Zero One Eye, also pretty popular, considering that the first 4 people didn't have a chance to vote on him because I forgot to include him in the survey. Surprisingly, some like Yuya and Tawiri got 0 votes, so they probably will not be returning in the future. A huge number of people said that they enjoyed Wave 3 more than Wave 1 or 2, and none of them said that they enjoyed it less. So Wave 3 was considered to be an improvement. And all but one person said they'd like to see all competitors return, which is all of you guys. So let me just say, the 6 people who were picked already know who they are. So if I haven't talked to you, it's because you didn't make the cut. So that is Big Spoon, Glimo, Varen, Kane, Damiel, Dynamis, and Ludeman. Your popularity numbers were on a completely higher tier. So many surveys said it was difficult to choose between favorites, but here's my closest approximation. Even then, there was a very clear distinction in who the audience both wanted to see and who they wanted to back up with their Patreon dollars. That said, now I came up with this idea from Sunderland, and by came up with this idea, I really mean I think that he pitched it to me to some extent. So don't let me take credit away. It's mostly his idea. That the people who aren't full-time cast members for this, so that would be for the people in this call, Salty Maker, Pondo, and Sunderland, that they remain on roster as like potential duo partners or a 1v1 interstable thing. So like one thing a lot of people have said, and it has been for me as well, coming up with 10 storylines, you know, and 10 opponents, 10 matches, it's rough and it's hard for people to follow. But if we compress it and we have you guys guest like maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks or so, you still get to be on the show if you want to be. You still get to be involved, and you become like a. You don't have to worry if people are going to pay for your repairs, that kind of thing, right? Like, no matter what happens, you're good. Yeah, recurring guest, essentially. If you guys are interested in that, continue thinking about that and let me know after this discussion. I wanted to get that out of the way early because I've seen a lot of dramatic television, and I know that you're supposed to save that for the end, the announcement of who made the cast, but that's stupid and dumb, and I felt like it would just be the most adult thing to do would be to talk about it at the beginning as much as possible. Even if some people might feel down about it, because no one likes losing popularity contests. I'm quite aware of that. That said, we have convened this meeting for a very specific purpose, and that is to hear your feedback on the playtest. It's been a really, really long playtest. I mean, I remember releasing the first VODs while I was on vacation, which must have been in October?
I think it was last September.
Jeez.
Man.
This playtest took
was
a
it
really
actually that long ago?
Yes, so the thing is, not only did each wave take 2 to 3 weeks, but then there was 2 to 3 weeks of downtime waiting for the investors to finish their surveys, and then planning weeks. So it was the longest playtest I've ever done.
It was I want to say we started recording in November, probably. It was after Time of Total Warfare ended.
Definitely.
About a month, which was in September is when it ended. So it would have to be November, yeah. Still.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Well, hard to say. Time works differently now. Right. Than it has in other periods of my life.
Let's do the time warp again.
I want to make clear here that if someone says something that you agree with, please indicate that you also agree with it, because if one person says something and everyone silently agrees to it, I'm going to write down one person said this.
Do you want the dorky way we do this in work meetings, right?
I
you can
don't
wiggle
know,
your
man.
fingers.
Oh boy.
Oh, nice.
I don't. And are we supposed to do like the reactions, like thumbs up if you agree?
The Roman style.
Yeah.
Raise hand.
Absolutely. Hands in chat.
Yeah, thumbs down. Somebody just steps in from off camera and just.
Oh God, I don't know how to lower it now.
All right, he's done. Get him.
I don't know what he did. All I know is that Zoom did something I've never seen before. Yeah, so, the questions on the table are, what did you like? What did you not like? What can be done to improve it in both quality or speed of play? And the open question is about the archetypes and just like, how did you like them? What can be done to improve them? Spoon has made some very precise surgical upgrades to what's there. I am interested in some of the things he's written. Many of them may make the cut if others approve of that sort of thing. I think, though, that there is more work to be done on the archetypes, even with what Spoon has, in terms of making moves so that each of the stats has a move to it. But I'm not interested in like fleshing out a full system, because it's really just a vehicle to tell interesting gladiator mech stories. And I want to say, again, not everyone made the cut here, but everyone did make interesting gladiator stories. So don't think that you fell short of the mark on that, because people fucking love this show at a level that I didn't think that they would. So much so that I decided to cancel having a main 4-player show and just do this, because it works. That said, and this is a discussion for the main cast members, but there will be a more intricate, interlocking, interstable story, because I think that's the thing people liked about the third wave, was the Hunter. Well, it was really a three-way Hunter, Seth, Brody conflict where each of them tried to place themselves as like the best pilot in the stable, and everyone voiced in on that to some extent, even people who didn't normally voice in on that kind of thing. We also got like friendships between the characters, like visiting the cracked canopy, hanging out with Sergey and other pilots, and that is the kind of thing that I think I'd like to see in the final cut. Meanwhile, let me say another meeting thing. Let's circle back. What did you like? What didn't you? Oh yeah, that I got smooth with that one. What did you like? What didn't you like? What could be done to improve both quality and or time?
Rad will like this one. Well, let me just piggyback off of that, AP. So I'll step in and go first here. I really like the one-on-one. I think it's a very different way of playing BattleTech than you have in the past. And, you know, it's high stakes, man. It is a high stakes game where one roll can change the entire outcome. And that's what I liked about it. What I didn't like about it, losing. Losing sucks. But I mean, that is what it is.
You're telling me, man, I had a whole soundboard full of all sorts of things that I didn't have time to play because my match was done in 5 minutes.
Yeah. So, and I think more seriously, it's not what I didn't like about it, but I think areas where we can improve is our rules. Our rule set can definitely improve.
I'm not surprised to hear that from the guy that improved the rule set.
and even on top of what I did, it can get better. That's a rough first draft.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree on the rule set. I mean, we didn't have time to explore a lot of the things, you know, in the play test, but I definitely like that you've fleshed out more of the, you know, made the archetypes different from each other. I mean, at least in my first match, I didn't even have an archetype, so because I think I was first out of the gate in first wave.
Wave one didn't develop archetypes until I was on vacation.
Yeah.
That was the week where I was playing Last of Us 2 and trying to order a PS5. I remember distinctly.
I also like the table format. I do like the high risk nature of it. I think that makes it more. I mean, I thought it made it more exciting for me as a player, especially playing that format made it strategically different than I would have done just in like a regular game. And by extension, if I thought it was more exciting playing it, I'm sure it made that potential swing being so much more drastic, probably made it more entertaining for the audience as well. And I do agree with the rules thing. The archetypes themselves, I really like the idea of the archetypes. I like the flavor that came with the archetypes. It seemed like some of the archetypes, the way that they're currently written, had more opportunities to showcase some of the abilities that they had to sort of drive that home, and other ones really didn't. Like I know for me, my option was based on the relative wealth of the investors, which given the time in the playtest, I was like, yeah, getting a couple light mechs would be interesting, but I don't feel like there's a whole bunch of the stable that's going to be like, yeah, let's just hop all into light mechs. It seemed like we kind of had that weight class that we seemed ideal that we would have a preference in, and getting a bunch of lights didn't really seem to fit that. And it's not just my playbook. I noticed with a couple other ones reading through, I was like, that it was difficult to try to force those to happen during the playtest to see how they balanced or how they worked, just because of the way it was constructed.
I will admit, I said when I made them, I made no attempt to balance them at all.
It's not even for me. It's not even a concern of a balance thing. Like I chose what I think tied for statistically the shittiest pilot, just because I thought it would be really fun. Like, and that didn't bother me at all. I was like, whatever. I mean, he'll either balance to my pilot skill level or he won't, and this will be fun either way. But I like the flavor. I just think being able to execute some of those unique moves was more difficult for some than others, just the way they were written. Just
yeah.
Yeah, like some of the things around like you know, being able to make deals and things like that. You know, we never even got into that that side of it in the playtest.
Yeah,
So,
just
which
very,
is-
some people very briefly like touched on it, and it, you know,
Yeah, like I tried to with Ghost, yeah, there wasn't a lot of outside, like, you know, being an undercover agent, I wasn't getting a whole lot of direction from the organization I was a part of. I was just kind of coming up with stuff to do, which was fun for me too. But I think in the main show, it'd probably be good to have a lot of something, you know, a lot more external pressure.
Well, allow me to
As the
say
Ghost.
this. One of the stat types that so far has not been used very much was like instinct and training. And I was definitely considering having things like, specifically because of the Ghost playbook.
I use training.
Sure, but
because
there's not a
I
move that's
solder.
tied to it so much, right? So I'm going
Well,
to be
it's-
making moves to avoid danger or engage in danger in a very Powered by the Apocalypse way. And occasionally things like ghost play types will be able to send like people to beat you up before your matches, right? Like they'll literally just send gangsters to beat you up so you go into the match hurt. Your like instinct and or training will be either to avoid that kind of like, you know, it'll be something like roll 2d6 plus instinct to avoid dangerous situation without, you know, problems. So it'll be running away. And training would be more like 2d6 plus training to counter attack in a situation, or, you know, go on the attack yourself. Like maybe you, Varen, would like to have your criminal go break somebody's legs directly.
Like
I don't know. It's something that maybe that could be added was more options for the silent investors to like maybe bribe a referee or judge.
Those actually are already built
absolutely.
in there in some of the playbooks.
Yeah, but that's for the players. I was talking about the patrons. Because
Yes,
it
yeah,
feels
yeah.
like
So
all they can
when
do is
they
really
have the
just
move, the
pay for repair
patrons.
and stuff.
So there are some of them have moves where the patron has to pay to activate it for like bribing. Is that not in the current crop of?
I don't.
No, that's not. You just mentioned like
Yeah.
cheating based off of like
So-
the unlock C3 tag.
I may not have.
I know it
included
was in
yet.
Spoon's one. I don't know if it was in
I
the
mean,
original one you gave
And even
us.
if that was a thing, if a player selected that and wanted to do it, the only time that you gave them right to really petition the investors for stuff was during like interviews.
That's true.
Yeah.
I can't imagine
Gangster had
being
it.
on national TV going, "Does anybody want to help me do crime?"
Exactly. Hey, can somebody send some dudes to beat up my next opponent?
Yes.
I
So
love it.
Glimo pointed out, gangsters have the ability to have investors cover their prison fines or bribe the referees.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know that I would make that a more open move because that does seem very tied to gangsterism,
For sure.
gangsteriness.
So-
Yeah.
So
But yeah,
it was interesting seeing
such
a new.
moves exist.
It was interesting seeing the new system, but I was completely unfamiliar with it outside of the mech combat. And so I had difficulty really understanding, like, I understand there's a move, which is kind of a thing you can do. It's an action almost. But is this based on another system that I just don't have any experience with?
Yes.
It's
There's
based
a
on
system
Powered by
called
the Go ahead.
There's a system called Apocalypse World that came out about a decade and a half ago. That a lot of these indie role-playing games are based off of, where it's just a 2d6 plus a stat system, and you have things like moves that determine everything instead of an actual like set of more generic actions.
Yeah, it's a far more like a narrative based system than it is a like technical action economy type system.
Yeah.
It's a very action movie.
Yeah.
So that's I think that having maybe that up front, because I read through the manual, I was like, this is interesting, but I didn't understand a lot about just the general rule set and like, well, how many entries can I get as a gladiator before it impacts my performance? I didn't quite understand kind of things like that, or how stress kind of worked, where it just kind of missed by me. So
yeah, I felt a little bit like that too. Not playing Powered by the Apocalypse. I got the gist, but when stuff like glory came in, I was like, all right, I want some glory. What do I do with it?
Yeah, what does it do?
Yeah,
It's actually, yeah.
Glory is currently a MacGuffin. It doesn't do anything yet. But what it will do is you trade it for things. And someone suggested, I think might have been Spoon, that you can trade glory for wealth. It's like a player version of wealth. You can use it to preempt, and I thought that might be interesting.
Yeah, I also
like that idea.
Mentioned using it as kind of a sacrificial resource to avoid your bad outcomes of moves, perhaps.
Using glory kind of like to buy edge would be kind of cool.
Well, using it to help with an out of combat roll of some kind, maybe.
Yeah, like trying to get an Instagram and
treating it like influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, like going to CC Bill and not rolling terribly.
Twice in a row.
So
she's too good, man.
I definitely hear you guys saying that you didn't understand how the rule system works, because it is Powered by the Apocalypse. You haven't played it, and I can understand how someone who has played it often would understand what they're looking at, and someone who hasn't doesn't have the 40 pages of explanation, and having watched someone actually play it at some point. I've heard a lot of rule designers say something along the lines of, it doesn't matter how good your game is if you can't communicate it to the people who are playing it. And so I will need to work on explaining how the archetypes work to people and how the moves work. Because there currently is explanations toward the end of the document, and if you guys aren't finding that clear, then that's something I need to improve.
I mean, because when I looked at my archetype, I looked at it as like a role-playing framework.
That is what it is.
But I couldn't quite figure out how a couple of the parts actually fit into that framework. So
yeah, like when I got to pick my one stat to boost, I was like, well, this one seems thematically appropriate. I have no idea what it does. Maybe it'll come up, but this fits my theme, whether it's mathematically useful or worthless, or I don't really care, but it would be nice to know how I can exercise it.
Several of the stats don't have moves tied to them yet. It was made in haste, but I need to improve it from here on out, which is why we're having that meeting. But yes, if you're saying you didn't really understand how the archetypes work, then improving that understanding would be important. And I actually heard about that from at least one investor who said, I've seen the archetype page and I don't understand how it works. So I'm getting it a lot.
I feel like that's also on us a little bit too. Like I easily could have read those 40 pages in the 3 months this went on, and I just didn't.
Well, I mean, you would have had to have read Apocalypse World or Dungeon World or this, that, and the next thing world, right? So,
and it certainly would have been worth reading if I'd known up to this point that was the inspiration material for it. So I could have tried to use it as a reference, but I didn't even know there was a reference to go off. I thought this was purely pulled out ass. Like I want to make this.
It was pulled out of my ass for sure.
You can be two things.
It's true.
I will say though, I have some other thoughts on rule sets and systems, perhaps, but I'll save those for later.
Yeah, and I will say, as somebody who has played a lot of Apocalypse World, that I as you know, as much as this is a very much a preliminary thing, I think it certainly does the job that we want it to do pretty well so far. It at least, as somebody who specifically spent some time during my time with the playtest trying to just force moves just for the heck of it. I think that there's definitely, this has legs when we get it sorted.
You're saying I think you've done it has legs and it knows how to use them? Okay.
Yeah, yes, right. Precisely. What basically I'm just saying, I think you've done a good first step here.
But it is just a first step, just so we're all clear.
Yes.
I can't tell you that I will have a very clear, very good endpoint to this because I've never been very good at hacking games together. I don't know how much. It's hard for me to remember what Eric says on camera and what he doesn't say on camera about End of Steel. But there's a lot of discussion about abandoning the way we currently do End of Steel as well.
I have some thoughts on that as
and
well.
The cast of A Time of Total Warfare could tell you 10,000 and did tell you 10,000 things about each of the different BattleTech systems we used, none of which were very good.
The pistol versus the sniper rifle.
Oh boy, yeah.
That was just a minor.
Is this the part where I start pitching that I'm trying to hack blades in the dark to do this?
That wasn't a rules thing, Spoon, but thanks for that remembrance.
Dude, yeah. I'll tell you about going from the finale of A Time of Total War, you know, where everything was so slow when there was the dozen of us, to immediately a 1v1. Like, it was so fast. It was so fast.
The speed of it was a lot of fun, but like, yeah, definitely. I appreciated that it made me make mistakes too, right? And I wasn't worried about the optimal play, like necessarily, just like, wanted to keep the flow going.
Than me.
No.
Yeah, I think a good thing was the patience for some of us that haven't played in a while, right? Just trying to do like all the math in my head was just like, oh my gosh. I know it's like 3 small numbers, but when you're staring at a webcam and then like, and you're thinking about the move and heat and
we've been there,
and also, turning and making sure that you're like
range,
left 1 and left another 2.
You're describing the first fight of A Time of Total Warfare for me.
Yeah, we chased off all the mean people on YouTube a long time ago. The Solaris Nights YouTube comments, both from the investors and from the people who've seen the public matches so far, have been overwhelmingly positive. No one's been like, wow, these guys are slow, because we made all those people leave 2 years ago.
with your 2.5 hour intros.
yeah, you heard about that comment,
That was the long play. The long play was just to wait them out.
That only happened once, okay? Most of the time, they're about an hour.
No, you don't know, Pondo. So someone posted a YouTube comment on like episode 9, season 1 that said, fuck these hour-long intros. And I was like, listen, bro, you're on episode 9. You didn't even know yet. I included a skip intro button for a real reason, so you need to sort your life out right now.
Well, I appreciate the sacrifices of those who came before us.
There was why 1.5 times speed exists.
So another thing I liked about the format was it was kind of there was a regular cadence to, like, there's the interview, there's the pre-match, there's a little thing before the match begins, in terms of like if there's a little bit of RP as you're getting into your mech, that type of stuff, and then there was the match and then the post-match and kind of a short post-mortem after that. I thought that was a good format. I could just never. Seems like sometimes we forgot to do stuff, and as a character for me, it would have been better for me to actually see like the outline so I could make a few notes, because I'm someone that's like see the outline, make a few notes that I can like stare back at it real quick or slowly and kind of let that kind of jog back to my memory.
Have note cards for your interview.
Went along, and it just rolled, episode to episode.
The number of people who forgot to mention Rasselhag and thank them again.
Yeah.
Rasselhag will remember this.
Well, some of you got very specific individual I mean, mostly you, Dynamis, in your
Fulcher, I was going to say, that was going to be one of my favorites.
You had an investor who has taken personal interest in you. So.
Oh, I loved not knowing that going into the session, though. Like, it was a surprise. Like, we never talked about it beforehand, so I was like, all right,
that was neat.
I'm at an all-I-can-eat buffet. I'm being filmed. Okay, this is cool. Let's roll with it.
It ended with a patch that I completely forgot about in the next one, too.
I couldn't remember what Rasselhag's role was in the Clan Invasion Wars, and so I was like, I didn't know if there was any lore I didn't know about that it was like, do I want to brand
repeatedly? I
understand that, but unless you know that and you forget to like stop action and ask, right? It's like, I'm kind of gonna forget about this and forgot about it. So, so it's good having some of that kind of surprise and when you get into your mech, but it's also like it's kind of some a little bit to the stress level. So.
Have Sarna up in another window just in case something.
Google something real quick.
I did enjoy. It was a double edged for me as well. I did enjoy the improvising a lot of the characterization stuff, which is like, this is great. This is a challenge as a role player. this really gives me an opportunity to feel out this character in ways that I might not have anticipated or thought of. And there were definitely times where I felt like I was like, I feel like there's a reference being made here that on the spot I should know, and I don't know. Like, do I have time to? Can I Google this and like BS roleplay my way through stretching this shit out?
Guys. Like, it's okay to just stop and ask. Not everyone has read every BattleTech book like me.
Excuse me, Arthur. Am I being screwed right now?
Yes.
The answer is usually, depending on the situation, answer is usually yes.
The
question you should ask
Arthur every week in Cyberpunk.
So I think I almost had like the first episode. I was pretty damn nervous. I fucked up my voice with my orc from Pathfinder, completely getting confused on the spot. So I was nervous enough. So focused on the BattleTech stuff that even when AP did like, oh, you can't see me now, I was like, oh, I know that. I know who that is. Move on. Like it just went right by me.
Deer in the headlights for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
I
wasn't worried so much
have an
about
Australian accent, but I couldn't get it off.
Yeah.
So I gave up on that and just went with.
Yeah.
I like the American action hero, man. It was pretty good.
It was solid.
Oh, you mean Smash?
Smash. Yeah.
Okay. Kane, did you have
you
something?
mean All Might?
Yeah, exactly.
I know that I didn't have a feeling like I couldn't be like, hey, I have a question real quick or anything like that. I know I certainly exercise that, like, hey, I'm trying to remember the modifiers real quick or whatever. I just felt, especially during the interviews, I felt like any pause that I took there for clarification or something would sort of mess with that flow. And I was thinking more of like the audience experience and how much can I get away with before I really have to call a stop, because I really didn't want to mess with that for the people watching.
Yeah, I don't know that I can help you with that.
Oh yeah, that's a personal problem. But that's my thoughts on it. Like, it
certainly could exist for sure.
I commiserate with you on that because I certainly feel the same way. Because I love the interviews so much.
Oh yeah.
That I don't want to. That to me they're the single most important part of the show, and they're the part I'm always the most nervous for. Because once we get into the mech fighting, I'm like, whatever, I could do this in my sleep. But I'm always sweating
okay, Mr. Slide down the road, nail a EG shot. I could do it in my sleep. Listen to this bullshit.
I think that one of the reasons the third wave was really good, I think was better than the other two, is that everyone was more comfortable with you, Arthur, as well, because we'd been through once before. And I think even watching your shows, that when they start new, the cast really does come together after a couple of episodes usually. And so, just kind of getting to learn to play together, I think, is like kind of an impediment when you have a big play test like this.
Sure.
Yeah, beforehand, our interactions were, what map do you need next? So,
well, we haven't mentioned it, but you guys did do 3 more of the arena maps, you and Sidious, and I've gotten to take a look at them, and apparently you smuggled them to certain other dueling partners you may have.
In his defense, he was asking for help on it, and I happen to have
it's fine.
A mini-map screenshot saved on my phone.
I'm making a bigger deal out of it.
Look, I don't know why I have that. I still don't know why I have that, but it's there.
I'm making a bigger deal out of it for comedy. It's perfectly fine. They are really good. Ishiyama is excellent. I think that's the Caves one, right? The factory looks good.
We made it leveled.
The Caves one has letters telling you which level that tile takes you to, and it's like got 4 different maps.
That's cool.
So it's
Sadis was like, here, why don't you take jungle? I'll take the other 3. And I said, that sounds about all right. And then I remembered, wait, no, jungle's got by far the most shit in it.
All right. Yeah, and factory looks like a blasted hellhole. Yeah,
I'm so excited.
The Steiner Coliseum, which is the only one where you can watch in person, really does look like a Roman training field.
Nice.
It's crazy, like mech size, but yeah. I'm excited to see those. So I want to step in and talk about 3 things that concerned me about the playtest that I also haven't really seen so far. The first is meat damage. Now, a lot of people who hadn't seen other shows expressed surprise about the way that pilot damage worked, because they hadn't done if you take a point of pilot damage, you also take a +1 to the 2 hit. And I know for some of you, mostly Gleemo, that became so crippling that you just basically could not proceed anymore.
Yep.
And I don't know if I want to keep that or not, because for the one hand, I'm very used to doing it. But on the other hand, I have never seen meat damage get out of hand like it did with Gleemo. Like it was so fast, and it was basically totally disabling to walk around with a +3. Like that was it.
I mean,
absolutely savage.
The biggest problem was it was not only the pilot damage, but the gyro on top of it. Because then every time anything happened to me, I had to make a piloting check to not fall down at +7. So
the whole point of the meat damage is to be a game changer.
I mean, I'm fine with the consequences of it. I mean, it sucked personally to go down like that, but I mean that's the way the game goes sometimes.
And so I think like this might be an opportunity to exercise some put some moves in that like avoid damage moves, either instinct or training, and you can roll basically leave it up to give yourself a secondary dice roll.
I was gonna say a skill test could make sense for sure.
So that a king crab packing LBX 20s doesn't roll the entire field all the time.
Now,
and that could
as
also
the guy
be
whose successes relied entirely on conflicting that on the NPCs, I would be interested in if I do think that it was really nasty on Gleemo, and it's also been nasty on the NPCs we've inflicted it on. I wonder if we swing that too far. For one, the application of any changes we choose to make for the players, whether or not those would apply to the NPCs as well, or what the difference or similarities between how it would function for players and non-player characters would be.
So the thing is, what happened with Gleemo was he got that hit to the gyro, which caused him to fall down.
Right.
And after that, when every time he kept on getting up, he would be more and more likely to cause pilot damage. So it's an instance where the meat could bleed to just a crescendo, but it's not as likely so long as the person doesn't fall down or if they took a pilot hit.
Okay, so you guys aren't concerned about meat damage so much then, but you are a little concerned if I change it.
I'm concerned about meat damage.
My concern isn't necessarily that it exists in the way that it is. Like taking pilot hits, it translates really well for when we're used to playing Time of War and stuff.
Now,
but the fact that it escalated so hard like that was extremely unlucky, and I wonder how much of that was just, do we want to say is likely or not? If it truly does feel like it's very unlikely, then those are just those narrative moments where just shit sucks. But if we think it's more likely than not to happen again repeatedly, then maybe some sort of adjustment might be necessary.
So to bounce on what Spoon said, essentially you could do where certain archetypes have a move or a enhancement or deal to where they can ignore the first level of pilot damage and go from there.
Or reduce the severity of your pilot damage by 1 step to 0.
No, that certainly sounds
like you're
good
saying,
for
you don't have to do it necessarily for NPCs, but I do like the idea of narratively being able to shrug it off or something like that.
Baron, you've been raising your hand.
I was just trying to formulate the question in my head.
Okay.
As somebody who didn't get I saw Gleemo's matches, but I don't fully track this. Does the meat go away between matches?
You have to get your hospital bills paid for.
The investors can make it go away.
Yes.
And that gets rid of all of your meat?
Yes. So the first 3 points of damage take 1 wealth, and the second 3 points of damage take 2 wealth.
Okay. So meat doesn't stick around from fight to fight. What happened to Gleemo was specifically.
Well, I mean, if the investors don't pay for you, it will stick around between matches.
Okay.
Which is a lot better than how it used to be. For a time of Total Warfare, you would be out for weeks, months.
Yeah.
Because it happened to me a lot.
That just doesn't seem interesting in a Solaris thing, though, where it's weekly fights. You're being laid up for 6 months.
So the best point that I can name that happened to me a lot was the hotel arc in Time of Total Warfare, where I got led to a restaurant, got my knee shot off, to deliver a message. Then recovered after a couple weeks and immediately went to a combat where I got knocked out again for another couple weeks.
Yeah.
Which I think the meat damage doesn't necessarily bother me as much between sessions. It's the fact that like Glimo had 8 stress, and that's not gonna all go away.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it immediately caused a stress thing. Don't worry, that's next on the list.
Separating the meat issue from the stress issue, because I personally don't think I think that as far as the meat damage for Glimo, that was incredibly unlucky, and it stacked in a way that made him lose the match. Yes. I think the problem there wasn't necessarily the meat damage. I think the problem there was the stacking stress. But that, like you said, is a separate issue.
Mm-hmm. So with the meat damage, allow me to call back to something someone suggested earlier. I like the idea of filling out several of the rules with some sort of ignore the first pilot damage hit to represent how tough those archetypes would normally be. But I'd also be interested in that sort of heroic Gundam anime bullshit of spending a point of glory to get the ability to make a roll to ignore it. Like you struggling back to your feet, essentially. Mm-hmm. So it'd be a general move that anybody could use by spending glory to get the opportunity to use, say, training to stand back up without taking the hit.
I like that idea.
I think if we were going to do it that way, that it's you can ignore any negative modifier. Like you can ignore mech damage as well as pilot damage.
Instead of glory, wouldn't it be better to make it just another edge ability? Because isn't that the whole point of edge? To be that awesome anime protagonist and to have luck on your side?
Maybe, but I don't really like people having more than one point of edge because it really makes people...
you only get the 1 point.
That's true. It does make people spend it very strategically. We've noticed some people that feel that the rolls at the end are more important and refuse to use it during their matches. Other people use it to chase cluster hits, and some people use it defensively. I feel like the dearth of edge, the lack of availability of it has made it a very interesting resource that isn't used on everything. Everyone uses it differently for a very specific thing, and that is way more interesting to me. I like the idea of using glory as a whole second currency for players to use. And more importantly, I would probably make it a thing that only player characters could use, because opponents will eventually have edge, but they won't have glory.
I like this idea.
Yeah.
Sonderlin, I don't know if I sold you on that one.
No, I'll take it.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Sometimes I can't talk people out with my bullshit.
The one thing I feel like that still...
It incentivizes us to chase glory in order to be able to have it to spend.
That is true.
Only for some
made a note.
archetypes, I guess. But
and on the edge point, the dice gods were really against me in that game because I mean everyone focuses on the through armor critical, but right before that, I got a headshot, which is what I spent my edge on to put it someplace else.
I mean, it's just that it led to a crescendo to where because I almost had your same problem where the first shot hit me, or I think it was the first or second shot, would have been a through armor critical with a triple crit, which could have just killed me out of there.
Instant death.
Yeah.
Well, we can't all be stoner with old one-shot
sniper.
So and that's just BattleTech, where it's just one
luck of the dice.
It's an old
I mean, it's
system.
part of the fun of the one-on-one, right? Though, too, with this type of thing, right? Like, because something like that can happen to you, Glimo, right? Like, it's crazy, but
I've had.
It feels more significant in a one-on-one because you don't have a team to lean on when it happens to you.
Right.
Initiative has never felt more important than in these one-on-one matches.
Oh yeah, no, initiative was a make or break.
I will hack my way to winning initiative all day.
As someone who has done this for
a long time,
almost 3 years, with like another like whole team, with Glimo included in some bits, it's definitely an interesting twist to switch to a 1v1.
Yes.
And a lot of my matches were not really like cut and dry. I've had to like really think about it, because my first match I had one where I was just outmaneuvered in any sense. Second match I was out-tunned and out-point battled by mistake, but I lucked out of there. Third, I had to run around the entire freaking map.
Yeah, you were just outsped. And that last one, man.
As much as everybody's singing the praise of 1v1 right now, I think that what Arthur was getting at earlier is that people really liked character interaction, and there's very limited opportunity for that in the 1v1. So maybe we could expand it to like 2v2s in the future at maximum.
That's why one of my favorite match, I think, of the entire playtest was my Wave 2 match with Cosmo as my wingman.
That was a lot of fun to watch.
I think both of us had more RP in that session than our other two combined.
Yeah, because we spent the whole time talking shit to each other, talking shit to Minxful.
Yeah.
It was
I like the idea of maybe every other week or something event, or like once a month event like matches, right? That are bigger scale like that.
Either
like
duos or trios, or like a lance match, or
Maybe just like a one-on-one on that.
Please, trios. The overlay is killing me right now.
an end of season Royal Rumble.
Duos would probably be the medium. Trios would probably be the maximum. I wouldn't do a full lance with this. Just because it's not that type of thing.
It's also not very fast.
It's
you're better off doing like a one-on-one.
It's not really the theme.
See, that's what I suggest to do, like a triple one-way, like especially for a class
like a three-way free-for-all, a 1v1v1.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the 2v1, like having us all be in lights up against a big heavy or something would be fun, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that'd be incredible.
There are certain audience members who would love for more people to be in light mechs.
I'd do it. I think I have a light mech technically.
Judamus has
as a
two
mech tech.
investors who have basically pledged eternal fealty to him as a result of being a light pilot.
I have 3 light mechs right now. Yeah.
I was that's one of the reasons why I picked the medium I did, because that Centurion I've got's pretty fast. So I wanted that speed.
I mean, light mechs are just a volatile class in general, just because they have so little armor.
They're very interesting matches, though.
Yeah.
If my pilot was more skilled, then I think it would be more fun to play in a light one, but that feels like it'd be such a more significant disadvantage in a lighter class.
For sure.
Especially since I have a weapon that helps compensate for my terrible gunnery, and that won't fit on. Well, I mean, I guess I could Irby.
You could put one. You have one weapon.
Yeah.
LB10s all day.
Irby mech has 2 or 3, depending on the variant.
I know it never actually happened to AP, but one thing that I would look forward to eventually is like the move that we kind of agree to on the side, if it ever comes to that. Like if I get the Fire Fist, Cosmo has a special move that like doesn't actually exist in BattleTech. I think bringing something like that would be pretty cool.
Well,
it requires some
the
investment
special
to get
move
there.
that doesn't exist in BattleTech is a move in BattleTech. That is a move
Headbutt?
No. Making up a move in BattleTech is a move in Destiny.
Oh, okay.
It's an
Well, there you
SPA that costs more than normal.
Oh, I don't
It
think I
just
knew
basically just says you've come up with something interesting. Negotiate with your game master. How it works. Don't worry, they got you covered there. I mean, what you've asked me for, and we negotiated with it for a while, is essentially a version of Fire Fist where you headbutt somebody rather than punch, and if that's successful, your head-mounted flamer, which you didn't fire that round, can then fire on the head hit.
Yeah.
So
or
wherever
guaranteed
you
head
hit with your punch, your flamer also hits, which is very exceedingly dangerous for
I
whoever
mean,
gets
there's
hit.
rules for a headbutt.
But we're making special gladiator rules, Pondo. Special gladiator.
I would say there's rules for a headbutt. So
There's rules for headbutt? I haven't even known that.
It's a point for every 7 points of tonnage.
So bad.
There are so many things I have not seen
I hope
happen
both
in
pilots get damage from that.
I basically had never seen someone skid until Solaris Nights, and it happened multiple times.
No, there was a hunchback back in season 1.
But we didn't do it right. We definitely did not do it right back then.
Oh, maybe probably not.
Yeah, we did.
Those were
I
the,
don't know how you
Hunchback
remember
that biffed
everything
it
so well.
terribly.
Those were the days where I just kind of looked
That was
over
me,
Total
I did it.
Warfare and I was like, I don't know, fuck it. I know the books better than I know this book. Let's just play.
the dark times before Grim Dark James came.
Grim Dark James didn't come until season 3, man. That's a long
season
time to
2
be
late.
dark times.
It was a very long dark time.
It got better since then. All right.
That's a weird story to go from YouTube commenter to cast game master. So what I'm hearing is some sort of like once a month interstable event, whether, and there are moves that allow you to set up matches. So I would certainly encourage you to like talk with another player who is available during your time slots and try to make a roll to set up a duos match or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love for failed rolls, rather than to not have the duos match happen, to have your opponents be different. Right? Like you're like, wow, yeah, let's find somebody we can easily beat up. And then it's like, yep, you wanted Mario and Luigi. What you've got is Bowser and Little Bowser.
See, what I was going to do if I ever got, my host was not, if I ever got like stable champion, was do a 3-way class seat match with Ferryman.
Wow.
Ooh, yes.
That would have been
Oh my
good.
god, that would have been amazing.
The ancient WWE title match where it's you and the guy that you're
Money in the
supposed to
Bank.
face, but then the third
Essentially
dark
Money in the Bank,
horse and the belt is hanging from the ceiling on a chain.
I could settle two
Now-
things: prove I'm
now
better
I'm
than
just
Ferryman,
imagining
and prove that I can
a
earn
normal-
the class
I
seat.
like it.
I'm imagining
never got the
normal,
chance to.
1v1.
Brody
There's
Harrison
still time.
Introduces like a third player just mid-match.
Brody Harrison cashes in the Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
Comes for that title.
he's going for the title.
It's a shame I'll have to leave you in pieces, Brody.
Oh boy. All right.
Oh,
Yeah,
that would have been
also
so
just-
much fun.
I was just kind of throwing things out as a spitball. Also, what could be interesting is maybe not adding another mech to a match, but having like, because I know like the interview is a really important part and a really fun part. But what if another person from the stable was there during somebody else's match,
Oh, interesting. Oh, it was like a guest commentator.
like a guest commentator? Yeah.
That was,
that'd be fun.
Sun Spirit has been pushing me for that very hard.
It's a corner
Okay.
man, right? Like,
I mean, the
Guest
other thing would be
commentator,
the
guest coach.
I was gonna say the guest commentator could just be the GM for that match, and I could go to sleep and just leave the stream running. I mean, that is a very
So
real
me
possibility. I was gonna say, Pondo, that's a
It's shock
very
and awe
real
for the stable
possibility.
wins, right?
Yeah.
This format is basically the freest layup there has ever been for guest spots, though. So there's
for
definitely room for that.
Pondo, let's talk later. Let's talk.
Okay, I'm free
Brody
Thursdays.
Harrison, guest commentator / playing the NPC antagonist. Pondo the Mad stepping into GMing. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it's what I did when Lexi was guesting,
Yes.
where she had the whole team to command. You were there playing Fate Go.
I just see Brody commenting on Seth's match. That'll go well.
This guy is awful. He's terrible. I don't know where the clans grew him out of.
What he did wrong was
doing some
Just
he got in his
continuous
stuff.
shit talk.
They scraped his
Zell
material
Brady.
off the floor.
Zell bringing more like Zell broken.
Oh,
For a
boy.
man full of honor, he's kind of getting the shit stomped out of him.
So this all spawned out of the way meat damage works. We've kind of agreed, just to circle back real quick, we've kind of agreed that if it gets touched on, it probably shouldn't be that much. However, the way stress works, I think, does need a change. Because if you lose under the way the system works, you basically are guaranteed to get a stress explosion, and that's not so good.
Yeah.
I would rather stress build up more slowly over time and be less easily able to be relieved.
Yeah,
would
I noticed.
say-
I noticed as not having like. I noticed initially for me, I was like, "This isn't so bad." I mean, I didn't lose. I didn't guarantee a victory. This doesn't. It seems like it'd be really easy to get rid of. But the first time I saw a loss and that huge stress stack, I was like, "Oh wow, this really
sucks.
can get out of control really fast."
So, what I would say, it's like if I understand if you gain a stress if you lose, but getting a stress just in general, just for having the match, probably doesn't make as much sense.
Okay.
Especially if you win. I would say you just wouldn't get that stress, you get the experience, and if you do say that you're going to win the match, then you could get the stress because you're kind of
putting the
setting
pressure
yourself
on.
up for the home run and then not getting it in the end.
I'm also thinking of having the way like accommodations work act as sort of stress armor. So rather than it be once a month, it'll be once a match. So if you have a upgraded hotel room, every time you would gain stress after a match, the first one is ablated, essentially. We didn't really get a chance to showcase that, but it would make upgrading hotel rooms to penthouses extremely attractive.
I mean, it basically saved me from having a permanent point of stress because I was able to ablate that one point of stress by having a penthouse.
So I want to talk about my design decision here because of the way meat works. So as we've noted, like high meat damage fades very quickly under the system. And that's not just because your characters are top tier athletes receiving top tier, medical rehabilitation, but because you're not receiving the kind of damage that would permanently cripple you. I think that the stress reflects that what ends your career is not, well, I mean, of course, if you take a Gauss rifle hit to the cockpit, what ends your career is you're dead. But what ends a gladiator's career isn't necessarily taking the damage over and over again. Or old age, it's the extreme stress that comes with being in life or death situations several times a month over and over again. So the way I envisioned it would be like down the line, like as you were approaching being good enough to get the the champion or legend playbooks, which will each have a way to offset stress. Like it'd be a race to get there before you collapse from extreme nervousness.
I buy that.
But with the way it's working right now, it doesn't work because like you lose, you die, essentially.
Yeah, I like the idea of like kind of what was talked about previously. Instead of having it where it's like you go to the match, you get a point of stress. I think if we have that stress be awarded or absorbed or whatever, incidentally at the end of the match based on the things that did or didn't happen.
Yeah, I'm thinking
so like,
no going into
injured,
match stress, and I'm also thinking that rather than take a point of stress for every time you take a point of meat, it's just if you take any meat damage at all, you get a point of stress. Period. End of story. That's where it ends. But
could you trade stress for meat? Like,
ooh, interesting. I'm not
choose
sure
to tank it as stress instead of taking the meat damage or something.
I don't know if I'd want to do that though. I mean, that kind of currency exchange sounds interesting, but
it would have to not be like if you expecting is like, all right, I got injured here, so I'm going to get medical billed anyway. I might as well switch out some stress to meat. I can feel that way it could be abused because you're going to get it healed off anyway. Would say that you would have to do it before a match.
If you're going to do
think he was
that
thinking
kind
the
of
other way.
exchange, you would want to make it not preventable by hotel rooms.
We seem to be at a crossroads.
Yeah, I think
a difference of opinions. Interesting.
Yeah, that would require some testing, and
this is the first time the collective hasn't come to an agreement.
I don't like the idea of using a currency to exchange one for the other. I do like the idea of stress being results driven instead of just showing up driven. And I like the idea of you got injured. You're now stressed out because you have personal injury, but not the degree therein. Because that can stack pretty nasty like we saw with Glimo's match.
Yeah.
If it was just the one stress because you got injured during the fight and you lost, you took another one, and you made your promises to win, you get another one, that already still feels significant, and it gets outside of the ablative ability of best case scenario, you living in a penthouse. So you can still accumulate stress or have to dedicate some of your between match time to deal with it or risk it building up.
I don't like the exchange because it feels like because I might as well take the loss because I would get the same amount of stress as blocking the head hit. You would want to weigh the cost of stress gained from losing with the cost of stress gained from nullifying the head hit, and actually make it a questionable decision.
Okay.
I I think we've already got a more promising system of negating head hits in either using glory or making a move to, you know, like pull it together and muscle through.
Yeah, the thing I liked about the conversation about the moves reducing the penalties by 1 or spending 1 your glory for that anime moment of clarity isn't that it negates the damage your character's receiving or the stress they'll have afterwards, but it gives them options to overcome that as an obstacle instead of just negating it outright.
More of a temporary fix for the fight rather than.
So there actually is a move already in my Mark II document.
Yes.
It's specifically a face move, but we might just, you know, it sounds like we're probably going to end up making that just into a general move where like anybody can pull that together and not negate it, but ignore the penalty basically, and then suffer the effects after the match is over.
Yeah, I like the idea of a general move where you can spend glory, which to push us to chase it. And I do like the idea of some of the playbooks, like
specific moves, yeah.
Some like the ex-soldier or the clanner having that reduced penalty because they're trained warriors as opposed to just trained gladiators. They have a different experience and more time required in the field at a time or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sounds like we're more in agreement than we were before. The last thing I want to talk about is the difference. So there is a line included in several moves that said something like, you cannot use this. If you fail, you cannot use this move again until you switch playbooks. I just want to change that to you can't use it until you level again, because at the speed we level, playbook switches will take months. But you could potentially level if you were pretty lucky in 2 to 3 matches.
Yep.
Actually, you're almost guaranteed to level in 3 to 4 matches. So I just want to speed up that time, because if you fail to make a good commercial and then you have to wait 2 months before you make another commercial, you're not going to make that many commercials.
Yeah,
and that leaves us commercialless where we could get some real good pictures of Cosmo messily eating things weirdly,
slurping vodka out of
I failed.
Primary beer is good, yes.
It also makes some of those moves more accessible. So it's not you spent those sessions being able to unlock this ability that you blew once. And then you've basically done nothing for that level. I do like that idea of doing it per level.
Yeah, this was also in my notes to bring up, so I'm glad you did.
I think I did fail 2 of those roles that you can't use to a new playbook, and I started getting to the point of, what do I do now? Like, I keep failing everything.
You were specifically the reason why I analyzed this particular situation.
I also all my edge on those too.
Fail the roll, and just all right, guess you can't use this one again.
Yeah. Could lock some of those moves behind glory too, or something like that.
Glory went from something with nothing attached to it beyond the idea of using it like maximum X curl to now it has a viable use in less than an hour.
Excuse me.
Spoon, that was the last of my discussion topics. So we're still open here for did like, didn't like, faster. Spoon, it sounds like you're brimming with notes. Not to put you on the spot, but if you got something, I think now's the time.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that a lot of people liked in this show was the interconnectedness of the stories. So I was thinking, like was brought up previously, having multiple cast members in the roleplay portions of an episode. And then, you know, transitioning to one person's battle perhaps. And so we would get like some group role play and then an interview and then a battle and then a post battle interview. Because I think one of the things that I enjoyed the most was interacting with my fellow cast members in our cast chat and being like, hey motherfuckers, I'm awesome.
Like as a good example, I brought somebody to get medical care.
Yeah, exactly.
That whole thing could have been done. Like we did that pre-thing with, you know, let's go eat real messy and all that. We could have that sort of in the very beginning. So a moment like that or something like that before it fades into the interview, and then that person can drop off or just hang out and be quiet. Like there's as a thought of something to have at least a little period of time before the fight or maybe after, where we have another person on to be able to show people some of those interactions that feel real natural for some of the characters. And we've just been doing regardless, just the audience isn't getting the benefit of them.
Yeah, it's kind of like Rocky and Apollo training together. One of them goes to fight, the other one's just at the ringside with them.
For sure.
I know I had a lot of fun, working behind the scenes with Spoon on our whole rivalry thing, and we were trading scripts back and forth.
I like that.
People
really liked it
to send to each other.
That was good shit.
You guys did great.
Yeah, I want to encourage that, but it should be noted that the overlay for the show was a nightmare, and I've somehow made it so that if I make additional, like if I make it for 4 or 5 people, I think it might actually crash OBS. I don't know. I use some sort of Eldritch formula or something.
Sure. And I think like Pondo said earlier, that probably 3 people is
about the max.
Yeah, the maximum. So like yourself, maybe 2 cast members, maybe 3 cast members.
That's what I'm saying, like 3 cast
There's
members.
3 cast members, then I just start the Zoom call and go take a nap.
Yeah.
I listen in and make sure there aren't any crit dice to be rolled.
Yeah. You don't roll AP's crit dice. That's what I learned.
I just like rolling crits, man.
Well, certainly were plenty of them.
And then I think one of my other main hang on, let me get down to my notes here.
Tell me, Spoon, tell me what I've done wrong that you're about to admonish me for.
He's just gonna go read YouTube comments.
Yeah, but so my first one was
please no.
My first general thought.
No, it's all right. They're all good. We got rid of the bad people.
Was what does glory do? Which we've covered that.
The answer is we still don't really know. I'm working on it.
Yeah, well, but we've got ideas. We've got possibilities now. Yeah. And then so the other one is working on archetypes so that because there are some obvious classes that are mechanically stronger than other classes.
Soldier is by far the best archetype.
Yeah, like hands down, Soldier is one of the strongest mechanically.
+1 to initiative, and you have a 2/4 starting. Oof.
Well, you have to think about it. There's other. It doesn't have like a lot of moves that are useful. It just
exactly.
It's all passive ability based.
Really good too.
The other thing you have to consider is that it has a 2 ballistic skill, but sorry, 40k. Gunnery of 2, but that causes an increase in battle value, which makes your fights harder.
Yep.
Because it happened to me.
Yep.
In case of my Marauder fight, and
after my first match, watching it on YouTube, and then coming into the second one, I could definitely tell between matches that the pilot rating was affecting battle value, absolutely. So I went from being concerned in the beginning where I was like, I ruled out picking X-Soldier first because of that. I was like, this one seems like it'll have a lot of opportunity to interact with people, and that seems like the point. But I was concerned originally about that. Yes. But I think as long as those skill ratings are factored into battle value continually, then I don't really see that so much as an issue, the mechanical balance between the playbooks.
And that's true for most matches. The one caveat to that, though, is that the class rankers, I think, are set.
Yeah. So I know that,
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to finish that statement, it's not that X-Soldier being mechanically better on the battlefield is bad. It's just we have to make sure that the rest that it also has some off battlefield stuff going on for it, and that also if there's a class that focuses on role play off battlefield stuff, that it also needs to be commensurate with the basically its level of off the field stuff and on the field stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I wanted to touch on class rankers briefly here. That was a driving force to encourage you to see what the top tier competition looks like. But as we move the show forward, all of the main cast members will be ranked. That was the point of Solaris Nights, was that the ones who continue will have made the list of the top 100. I haven't really figured out how I want to move forward because I'm not a sports person. And I don't okay, Spoon.
I love sports.
I know you do.
Who doesn't love sports ball?
So the thing is, I don't want to make 5 lists of 100 people for you to fight. And then have to be like, well, how far up does your rank move when you win and or lose? How many matches can you try to challenge someone above you before someone below you gets a shot at your title? So I think I'm just basically going to make it up as I go, to be honest.
Just copy Armored Core. It's fine.
The Armored Core method was terrible. That's what I want to avoid. You actually do have to fight each one of the 100 people above you or kill them in a mission. Now there were
this is 3 months. My bad.
Somebody wants this game to last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Several of the class rankers were callbacks to Armored Core 2, especially Count 1.
Yeah.
Omega Tanaga is basically Count 1. He intentionally so is Kingmaker. They intentionally keep their ranks low so that they can for Kingmaker it's to test opponents coming in to make sure they're worthy. For Omega it's to kill as many people as possible because he's a violent psychopathic clanner.
Yeah, he's a Jade Falcon.
No, he's not. He's a fire mandrill.
Wow. What was it? He
was a fire mandrill who was captured by the Jade Falcons.
Yeah,
they brought him to the occupation zone.
They brainwashed his
He basically killed his way free. Like, he won his freedom. Joined the Intersphere forces.
Look, all I'm saying is that the Jade Falcons ruin everything they touch.
Okay, Ghost Bear, calm down. you basically turned Rasselhog into like the worst planet in the Intersphere.
Oh, please.
So,
but they play football, so it's okay.
Oh my god!
To bounce back on what AP said, I think it's better off that you do just make it up as you go, because either that you're going to have to go through one at a time, or you have to figure out some sort of system based off of how much the pilot took hits, how badly he beat the other opponent.
It's just going to be
ton of admin work.
Win rate essentially will determine how you move up fictionally. A lot of the NPCs who were very popular will make a return, either defending their rank titles or they completed the Solaris Nights alongside you, and so like C-Bill, Sergey, Primo.
So you're planning that we're keeping our same characters?
If you want to, you can, or you can make a new one.
Okay.
Oh, I'm still keeping my character,
and we're
for sure
keeping the same timeline.
It will be the same timeline, but it'll be several months down the line. It'll be the run up to the next grand tournament. So,
but it's still
30,
whatever the year was,
50-52. Yep.
Okay.
The big meta storyline will be what is going to happen to the mercenary business, which is very big on Solaris. So the Comstar will have dissolved the MRB, which is their mercenary review board, but Jamie Wolf will not have formed the Mercenary Review and Bonding Commission yet. And of course, the Battletech novels kind of gloss over it, but Jamie Wolf did just basically show up out of nowhere and be like, hey, what's up, humanity? I'm an arch traitor that decided to betray the people who are betraying you. Also, I'm better than all of you. I'm in charge of all the mercenaries now. And everybody just goes, okay, that's cool in the novels because Jamie Wolf is the main character. But I assume that at some point someone would go, why is Jamie Wolf in charge of all the mercenaries? First off, why is a mercenary in charge of what? Like, why is a guy who actively runs a mercenary company in charge of deciding who gets what contracts for how much money? Like, that is going to be a talk show point for Solaris Nights and William Double Double.
He showed him a picture of the warships he did bring with him. They were like, oh shit, okay. All right. Yeah.
I would like to present to you my resume.
Here's my 5 regiments of elite battle mechs to back it up.
That'll do it.
Dragoons.
Join my team.
So on the topic of mechs, I had difficulty understanding the mech repair kind of rules.
Okay.
Because when a lowly medium Intersphere mech costs the same to repair as a Star League era relic, it kind of like was kind of puzzling for me.
Yeah, it's mostly just abstraction, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, because the money is logarithmic in nature, or somewhat closer to exponential, the amount it takes to repair a mech surprisingly is not that much. Like, even really bad battle damage on a mech, as long as the core isn't damaged, you're still only looking at like 1 to 2 million C-bills in most cases. It was never really gonna be that much.
I could see like you're getting to the rarity or like the amount of customization to it. Maybe like tacking on an automatic 1 point or something.
We did do
to
that.
repairs. Or,
yes.
Yeah, that
so
makes
custom mech, SDLF, or clan all have a +1 repair.
Did you add it to custom mech?
Gotcha.
I am officially adding it to custom mechs from here on out, because they'll have to be maintained by someone who specifically knows it.
Not that it matters to me at this point, but yeah, that's interesting. It makes sense.
Is there like a threshold for what counts as like custom?
Any amount of customization counts as custom.
Okay.
A non-stock build.
Yeah.
Anything that is not an established variant.
You tweaked
Correct.
it thing. It's custom.
All right. So moving armor points around counts as custom.
Yes,
Yep.
All right.
that's right. Your
So
mech
yes,
is not
you might as well
custom.
go hog wild if you're going to have that penalty for life.
Yeah, exactly.
Oof.
Oh yeah, no. Go crazy. I did.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I mean that's also one of the things about Solaris is like, yeah, absolutely, go crazy with your mech builds. Like that's what this place is for.
Yeah, put furnace rounds in your head.
yeah, I plan for my life to be very
Just don't
expensive.
build more than 2 heat.
Just gonna hope
yeah.
people like me.
That's how Brody's gonna go out.
Just gonna cook himself off.
Yeah, build
Furnace
10
headbutt.
heat. You have to start rolling to make sure it doesn't explode on you.
Wow, that's savage. Good luck.
So
Yeah, after using it, I'm like, I probably don't really. It's not even really of use. It's really only good if the mech doesn't have double heat sinks.
Mm.
That's what I found out with Kazuma.
What? Why would you
And,
not have double heat sinks?
Huh?
they're expensive.
Well,
Well,
it's. I mean, the
double
first
heat
rounds
sink.
are mainly used for like the second, and third succession war.
Yep.
They didn't have double heat sinks, and then
Yeah,
it would
no,
be
but if
very
you're gonna
brutal.
customize it, go hog wild and slap on doubles.
Well, you didn't have that back in those times.
Yeah,
There's a not to is if you want TSM.
Yeah.
You want to be hot.
See, yeah, it would be brutal against TSM build because that messes with their
Perfect heat curves.
distribution. Where it's at that point you want to learn how to shut off heat sinks rather than focus on just having a bunch of lasers that you finely tune to divvy out a certain amount of heat
To shoot into the space of the rock pile next to you.
or the ground or yeah. So it's
Just
So
do your little miniature rave.
Salty Maker, I do want to jump in and say I have finalized the way officially that the buying of mechs and repairing of mechs works. 1 is for external armor damage. 2 is if you take any point of internal damage or a critical damage at all. It's a +1 to that if you're SDLF, clan, or custom. And when it comes to purchasing mechs, clan mechs cost +2 to purchase just because they're clan mechs. And if your mech is an Omni mech, which at this point only clans really have Omni mechs, but eventually Inner Sphere will, -1 wealth when you are customizing it because the ease with which you can swap out the build for an Omni mech.
Interesting.
So potentially, if your build doesn't cost that much, and you are a mech tech, you could potentially swap the whole mech build for nothing.
Yeah.
Is it possible that if we do go get an Omni-Mech at some point, could you change the configuration after you determine what the map is?
Yes.
Like, how far in advance would we know? Yeah.
I feel like I'll be giving you all more information about your maps and opponents, but the thing to know is that when I select your opponents, it's because of the configuration that you have, right? It's a battle value balance for some extent. Right. Now that matters less when you say, I want to fight this specific opponent for this reason. Sure. You can make disbalanced matches. But certainly changing your build to match the battlefield and your opponent's mech are both established in character canon. I mean, there was a point where the first Solaris matches to be described in the novels, they're like, all right, it's gonna be this guy, and they're like, oh, okay, that guy showed up, but he's in a different mech, and the judges are like, that's totally legal. We didn't say he had to show up in a stinger, if he shows up in a rifleman, there's nothing we can do. And they go, but that's a rifleman. It's not a stinger. And he goes, okay, we're the judges. We make the rules.
And so like stuff like that for me, like to me, is absolutely a spot for moves.
Well, I feel like it could make an interesting case where you and your opponent both swap your move, your
max
to battle match the battlefield that has been selected, and you're both going, why did he bring that build?
But like to basically to gain information on like what your opponent is bringing.
Yes, of course,
absolutely
that
a
would
move.
yes.
Yeah.
There has been some talk as to whether I should run a wiki or not. If someone wants to run it for me, I would give my approval and I would help them out. But I do not want to put that level of that's my Valheim energy. That's my eco energy right there. If I I did it for 2 seasons of Winter's Edge, and it was almost a full-time job keeping it updated, even allowing people to update it themselves. It's a huge pain in the ass keeping it.
I remember this. It looked like a pain in the ass.
It was very accurate though. You could go back and be like, okay. Well, I mean,
I went back and referenced several times.
Yeah. I would be interested in keeping some sort of scorecard for matches, but that again is not something that I have time to do during a match. So I don't know. I might try to find an interested audience member to become like a lore keeper or a scorecard keeper. To be like, these people won or lost by this much or that much. Like this person got this many critical hits, something like that. Interesting. What's it called in baseball? Sabermetrics?
Yeah, sabermetrics, yep.
Well, even if the players themselves kept track of most of that, like some things are easier than others. Like if you got a critical hit,
I mean, it's really difficult to keep track of stuff during the match by yourself when the two people involved are also running it.
Yeah.
So
it really slows things down to be mindful of that.
What you need to do is get one of those audience members who runs one of your Twitter accounts, AP Gaming Real Stats.
I'd be afraid. I mean, it would just be number of times AP played FGO during the intros.
Number of times.
You can't escape that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Otherwise, you've got to get Dunamis and Sidious to put more stuff in the toolbox there, so that you can
like a score counter.
Yeah, exactly, like an umpire clicker.
Oh, my God. Too much work.
We're coming into the bottom of the 7th turn. Count bases are loaded.
No, what's it called in MechWarrior Online? NASCARing? I mean, just go with car driving terminology.
Sure.
Oh my God, NASCARing.
I hate that.
Yeah, Salty Maker, I'm glad you asked that question. We have fielded far from it, but I was thinking you were a little quiet, and I just wanted to make sure that. Do you have any other things you want to add?
Sometimes I don't think I can hop off the mute as fast as I'd like to, but I think we talked about the meat earlier in gunnery, and man, when you're a 4 gunnery and you take it in the head, it is difficult to hit anything unless you're in melee range, and then you try to chase someone down, you can't even chase them down. So it's just, it was really difficult during some of the matches, right? Where you're just like, when you know you're on the losing side, and when do you cease the match, right? When is it good enough or entertaining enough?
I think it's interesting though that sometimes when you're losing, you try things. I want to go back specifically to the match where someone jump jetted behind someone else. They thought that they were confident enough that they could show the back, and someone with a gyro hit jump jetted, and it was just absolutely insane. Yeah, Dunamis. It was absolutely insane to make that move, and they pulled it off, and it ended up helping them out a lot. Like when you're losing, you will make risky moves, which can be very interesting, and by taking those risks, you can snatch victory from the jaws of sucking. So,
or when you charge in to try and kick your opponent in the head and fall over, and you snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah.
Well, I think Karma's match specifically outlined to everybody how important jump jets are, especially on high mobility or low mobility maps, because that
any map Sidious makes, you need jump jets.
Yeah.
The island map is another case where I wish I had jump jets.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, it's not flat. Jump jets.
I don't know that jump jets were as big a deal in A Time of Total Warfare, and certainly not in End of Steel, but the lack of them in Solaris Nights for me has been punishing.
Yeah.
Especially with the one-on-one, having the threat of being able to jump into an opponent's rear in more than one match either made me act very defensively or made me act very aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is such a huge factor for controlling facing.
Yes, and initiative as well. Like if you win initiative and you have jump jets, your opponent has to back off or get shot in the ass. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only map where jump jets didn't matter was Spoon's first one, where it was just flat ground on ice, and they're just like, okay.
Yep. Yeah, and a little bit of my second one, like if I would have backed off instead of charging in, like the jump jets wouldn't have come into factor.
Yeah, pretty much all my opponents had jump jets, so I had to play mostly defensively. Where the exception of the last one, I had to play extremely offensively just to catch up. But I got screwed over because I was all on island, so either I had to tread over water and hope not to trip over and drown, or
I just could not hit you to save my life.
I couldn't hit you either. I don't know how many times I shot it. I almost ran out of ammo out of everything.
Yeah,
I have a lot of ammo.
Yeah, it was very.
I think that's what kind of drives your build a little bit, though. Like especially in the light mech, I don't know if the guy I'm facing will be faster than me. I don't know if the map will be my favorite or not. So I have to have one long range weapon and everything else point blank range, assuming I can catch up to them, or I just keep running away. One of the two.
That's what my bushwhacker was. Is I had the AC-10 for long range, and then a mess of SRM4s to pester the crap out of you if you get close enough. And it was designed specifically so that way I could shoot everything, not to worry about heat. Which I did appreciate that not having jump jets, because with jump jets you can easily build up heat.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I will say, it's definitely in comparison to Time of Total Warfare. There's a couple times where I didn't have jump jets that I wish I did. But majority, I don't know if it really matters much unless you're like me or Rad, where you're very aggressive and wanted to get point blank with people.
Which, I mean, if you've got a 4 in gunnery, you need to be point blank.
I'll say that having jump jets and being hyper aggressive really helped me out.
Yeah. So here's another case where in my first match there was a situation where I was at point blank with pretty much like 4 hexes away from AP's thing, and then stuff with the environment like the night fighting and then the like iron deposits, where I was at 3 gunnery at that point still, but I was needing like a 10 or 11 to hit.
Yeah, your first match was brutal with the environment rules.
Yes. It's and that's something I'd like to see as well. It's like where you have like the different environment rules play into effect, because that one map made it really interesting, where I really wanted to keep my distance because I had a cicada that could jump 8 hexes or run 12, but I couldn't get any shots in. So I ultimately said, screw it, I gotta be aggressive.
Yeah, I did enjoy the I think it was my first match as well, had a +2 heat in the canyon. Heck, I jumped 6 hexes, shot a large laser, and I was at 18 heat. And I was like, Jesus Christ, okay.
Yeah,
I understand.
And that was before I had double heat things. So.
And I think so. Yeah, I think like stuff like that, where it's like either like a +2 modifier to heat or like a +2 modifier from night vision. Those are okay, but like when you start stacking stuff like the night vision and the iron deposits, or like
half gravity.
Yeah. Like when it starts to get a little too noodly, then your matches start slowing down and taking a lot longer. So
I was really hoping in your first match that Like AP made it a point to say, if someone's on the ice and the ice breaks, they just fall and it's over. They're dead forever. I was like, Spoon's gonna shoot the ice underneath them.
Okay. You know, I was really big on the environmental effects. They didn't make as much of a appearance in the third wave, but I definitely want to tie them to arenas. And if I'd been on the game, I would have included it on Boreal Reach, since it is a giant freezing. Theoretically, since it's actually just a giant empty hologram, but theoretically, it's supposed to be a giant freezing ice ball.
Sure.
Well, we're an hour and a half into this, and I want to open up comments again, because I feel like I've said my piece about this, and I have a lot of archetype updating to do. I'll probably be accepting most of Spoon's proposed changes wholesale, but that does leave me with several more moves to come up with, and both generally and for playbooks. I also need to figure out a better way to communicate how the playbooks work to all of you and to the audience. I don't know whether a video or a written document would be better for that.
Is there like a Powered by the Apocalypse quick guide, or is it too many other systems?
Powered by the Apocalypse.
That's it? Okay.
Is Dungeon World free now? I feel like there has to be a Powered by the Apocalypse that's free.
Yeah, they've Powered
by the Apocalypse, or sorry, Dungeon World has an SRD that is free, where most of the game is stored.
And I think if you go on like the Powered by the Apocalypse site, there's free games on there.
So like Night Witches,
and I'm pretty sure Apocalypse World itself has something akin to an SRD that's also out there that it specifically is freely available for people to hack with.
I would honestly say, if you are interested in this kind of system, just picking up first edition Apocalypse World, you really can't go wrong with it, because it's very interesting. If you're maybe into more Viking style stuff, Saga of the Icelanders also covers this.
And if you like Cyberpunk, there's Sprawl.
Oh yeah, the Sprawl will cover the Cyberpunk. I mean, the Sprawl even has a conversion to do Shadowrun as well.
Yeah, I did not realize Urban Shadows.
Running the Sprawl Shadowrun game for my home group.
Nice.
I don't know if anybody wants this, but I use a website that's got pretty much every single book, like PDF, on it already. Legalities question there because of copyrights, but if anybody wants
probably
it,
piracy.
It's PDF already up there. So
Does it rhyme with rove?
Yes.
Guys, come on. This is being recorded. Jesus.
Yeah, that is as you said, the legalities are questionable, and by questionable,
there's no question to it. Come on.
Actually, pretty straightforward.
Out of curiosity, out of the characters, or at least the character, are we all keeping the same characters?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I was planning to, yeah.
Amos Everett is definitely coming back,
So with that assumption,
well,
did we all?
I don't know. Glimo had that question earlier. Glimo, what do you got? Are you keeping Hunter McGregor?
I'm on the fence.
Oh,
Hunter McGregor.
Look at Mr. Fence Sitter over here.
So, out of curiosity, then, aside from Hunter McGregor, are the rest of us all different playbooks?
I think someone else is a mech tech.
Yeah,
Hunter was mech tech.
Yeah.
Oh yes, we'd have 3 mech techs possibly.
Okay, because I was wondering with those of us who played certain playbooks, being able to reach out to you with suggestions for our own playbook, things that we thought may or may not be thematic.
Please do. Yes.
And I think what would be nice, and especially since he's already sort of volunteered to do all of this, and it saves you time, getting with Spoon.
Yeah.
Certainly a 3-way communication.
Yeah, if you guys have suggestions or anything, I'm more than happy to hear them.
Since I've seen him
ecstatic even.
Because I really like the first edition of the playbooks. I really like the flavor that was introduced. I like the direction that it was, and I really liked a lot of the stuff that you came up with, Spoon. So
thank you. And like my main goal behind that was to just try and expand the amount of moves in a flavorful and way that kind of made sense for each class and gave them their own like kind of pocket of stuff to do.
I think with the changes to stress, I'm not so sure if I would still consider hot dog my priority number 2 archetype anymore, because stress seems less painful.
I mean, again, this is never going to be a finished system. It's certainly because of the legality of copywriting. I can never copyright this ever because I don't own BattleTech. But it will probably continue to. They're never gonna let me own BattleTech. I've talked too much shit about how terrible they've made it.
Go to patreon.com/AP Gaming Reel if you want AP to own BattleTech.
Could you imagine if BattleTech just restarted in 3025 with like not shitty writers, kept some of the same characters and plot lines, and just did a reset? Like a Battlestar Galactica reset where they're like, 25 years ago, we made some mistakes. Yeah, we made the Chinese people really, really racist in their portrayal. And everything else from there was real bad. And then we were like, we're going to send in some dudes from beyond the edge of space who are like, you're all girly men. We are Superman. We are here to crush you beneath our feet. We are all animals as well.
And surprise, they're also fascists.
There should really be like the clan invasion was really awesome, but it was also terrible. And there's a huge way to get from 3025 to 3052 in a different way that isn't bad. That just isn't bad.
In reality, their tactics are terrible.
Yes, they are. They admit it. They're just like, they don't care about tactics. They care about honor. Their primary goal of living is honor. And the thing is,
they care about proving that they are better than you personally.
What is really interesting is that the sociopaths among them that actually do cheat and lie and steal excel and end up becoming the highest ranking among them. And I'm like, wow, this is so realistic. This is how real life works. Like, Vlad Ward is not a good guy. He's a scheming liar, and somehow he ends up becoming one of the most powerful cons in the entire Inner Sphere. And I'm like, okay, I really hate this guy. And also the Jade Falcons.
I mean, just further proof that, I mean, he was already bad before, but once Jade Falcon got a hold of him, he got even worse.
He did. Let's not even mention the Jade Wolf. Okay, that was a bad. Good thing it only lasted one book, but yeah, I honestly think that BattleTech should go for a clean reset and give up on these writers that they've been holding on to for 20 years. It's clear that there's $2 million worth of money in for. They're like, we're asking for $30,000, and people are like, here's $2 million. Give me some fucking minis, you goddamn idiot. And they're like, I don't know. We could do a tie-in for MechWarrior 5, but we won't. And we could do a tie-in for the BattleTech video game, but we'll give you a supplement book that we don't really approve of. And we could give you a new map of the Inner Sphere, but we won't. We'll give you the old map.
Despite the fact that the story of the Aurigan Reach is better than anything that's happened in a BattleTech novel in the last 30 years.
I honestly believe if they just kept doing the BattleTech video game with more updated graphics and just DLC pack, like, okay, here's another Periphery Nation that we never really talked about, but they're kind of cool and they have a very different aesthetic than everybody else. Let's do that. Like, that would be amazing. You could make millions of dollars and be an Inches Success over and over again. You don't even need to change that much. You just need to flavor text the random events that happened on the mercenary thing.
Welcome to AP Rants About BattleTech.
Well, listen, I haven't even said his name yet, so let's just skip past that one author. We did him in the beginning. My arch nemesis.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
But yeah, no, like the BattleTech setting is underutilized.
Yes. So allow me to get back to what I was saying. This RPG will probably be permanently in playtest, specifically in regards to stress. I'm gonna tone it back for now, and I might push it back forward again when stress, like if this makes it so that stress isn't an issue at all and no one ever deals with it, I'm gonna kick it back up a little bit again, and we're gonna tweak it until stress is something that builds kind of slowly, until it creeps up on you, and suddenly you're like, well, now I go into all my matches with 1 meat damage, and that's not good. Or I had a stress explosion like Hunter McGregor, and now I permanently get closer to ending my career with every match. Like, is that all that's holding you back about Hunter, is the fact that he took that stress explosion and he had that critical loss? Or what is it about Hunter that has you on the fence? Because I think he's one of the most flavorful. Maybe it's just because you play bagpipe music and had a really soundboard setup ready to go, but I don't want to say goodbye to him quite yet. But I don't want to make you. Well, you seem like you're ready to press a button.
Oh, but did it not come through?
No,
I might have
through.
I must have the routing table wrong.
Oh, we are about to hear bagpipes.
I feel like it.
I want it to be.
Old Lang Syne.
The big things with I don't know. I honestly never thought that I would play Hunter long term.
Okay.
I built
didn't
him
think that
kind of as a
Cosmo either,
disposable
but it's
character
working.
for the playtest.
I would be sad to see him go, if only because he has been a huge part of the interstable beef. But I also don't want you to play a character that you're not interested in. So allow me to say that you've got like 2 to 3 weeks to make that decision.
That was going to be my
Also-
next question: is how long before this?
This meeting is not the Solaris Nights cast meeting.
Mhm.
So I'm not prepared to make a final decision, but the earliest will be Monday the 15th. I anticipate that there will be 2 groups that will alternate weeks. So like Group A and Group B, and we'll probably rotate members between those, but I'll just be like, all right, it's A week. Who wants a match on what day? Some people will probably want a match on the same, daytime every week, which works for me. We got a noise there, Glimo. It was like a laser noise.
We got some laser.
So that was working, but this, well, let's.
Nope. Something happened there.
Something.
I don't know what that was.
Laughter.
Yep.
I mean,
It's better
sounded
than
like it got cut
Pondo
off.
injuring me with the crickets the first time that happened.
The crickets are in a different
It's all
soundboard.
worth it.
That was a gyro hit to my heart. Yeah, so
Heat level critical.
I don't know if we're allowed to use those on YouTube. That's the thing. I don't
That's
know
true.
if we
Yeah,
can
that's
use
true.
those on
That's true.
commercial monetized
that might-
content.
That might be.
That has to be
might
pulled
another
directly from a
cool thing.
game.
Yeah, no, that's straight from MechWarrior 2.
Yeah, now obviously what we need to do is have
Microsoft.
each one of you record your own computer voice
There you
to
go.
play during your match.
Oh, that'd be fun. If somebody
I'm
showed me how
happy to help people, build
yeah.
samples and stuff.
I mean, I
If
do have
you
this-
show me how to build a soundboard, I will fill a soundboard with random shit.
Okay. Cool.
My
Sounds like
soundboard's in my Go XLR, so
coordinate with Glimo for this one because I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Mine's
Speaking
just
of-
I've got a hardware soundboard.
Speaking of learning from other people, I'm running a Time of War game, and I wanted to try to do the tabletop simulator. Who do I talk to for setting up a super swanky setup like you've been using as a template?
I have a video
his
that
name-
teaches you
yeah.
how to do it.
Yep.
Really?
Either AP
I could
or
go get it.
Dynamis.
I would say Dynamis could teach you how to do a super swanky setup. He's even got that what's it called now? Additive load.
Additive load.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
You just pick the map, do the additive load, and it's
So
done.
good.
Two
So
clicks.
Uh,
yeah, it's pretty solid.
but
I was
do,
dumbfounded when I saw that. I was like, "Oh my god, I've been doing it the hard way for how long?"
I do know a guy who is me who did a 6-minute video on how to do a 6-minute setup of BattleTech because at some point while I was doing the shows, someone asked me how to do it, and I was like, well, surely there's a YouTube video of this. And they're all like an hour long, and I was like, holy fucking shit.
I think it's still pinned. Yeah, it's still pinned on the
I
shows
already
on
said it.
hiatus, the Time Total Warfare chat.
Yep, but I also sent it in Gladiator chat.
Oh, okay. Well, that works
Yep.
too.
Nice.
I know the URL. People ask me for it with fairly regular ease.
I actually got an award from Steam the other day for having
Creating?
a mod that was so heavily used.
Oh.
And surprisingly, it wasn't even BattleTech accessories. It was
Oh, really?
one of the other. It was the grinder setup that I like just created. I was like,
Wow.
this is brand new. Why the hell is this so popular? But
A lot of
People thought
people.
it was the dating
I was gonna say
website.
some people might have just been searching Grindr.
yeah, that's funny.
It's bad, but a lot of us thought about that for the wrong reasons.
Looking for that love connection over Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah, so I want to take some time over the next 2 weeks to look at the archetypes, change the moves, talk with the cast. Specifically, got to get Gleemo settled into a new character or more comfortable with Hunter, and talk about what kind of storylines you want to see and people to face off with. So a lot of the rankers that you saw are going to still be around, but they're going to be, opponents out of your reach, right? Like, they're no longer rank 100. They're more like rank 20. You're rank 100. Because if Seth goes up against Omega Tanaga, Seth will die.
I'm going to murder him.
You'll die.
Straight death.
So the thing I haven't told you is that Omega Tanaga favors night and forest maps
Oh, God.
because he
Those are fun.
is enhanced imaging tattooed.
Oh,
Which is part of where
hey,
his-
all I have to do is sit back and wait a couple weeks and this dude will die.
That's what I was going to say. That's part of why he's a total psychopath murdering people, is because he's slowly losing his ability for restraint as a result of the tattoos. It doesn't take weeks, it takes years, but yes, you're right.
Dude, come on.
He is
When you
going to
say
burn out.
enhanced imaging, I'm just thinking of the BattleTech cartoon.
That is exactly what it
Yeah,
is.
Yep.
It is
Colonel Malthus.
circuitry on your face and body that connects to your battle mech instead of a neuro element. But if you
refuse?
if you take any internal damage at all, like if anything gets critical at any point, you are treated as if you took 2 hits or something like that. You can turn it
real
off, but
bad.
then you have to go back to using a regular neural helmet and lose all the bonuses of it. And the bonuses are really good, especially if you're in a night or a forest.
So just hit him in the head, you're good. He's dead.
Yeah, sure.
We killed him.
Well, we are entering the era where the headshot Gauss rifle comes back, so. Oh, and the headshot ERPPC is back now too.
Yeah.
That's my nemesis, actually. If it's clan and it's a Goss or a PRPPC, it's my nemesis. It'll hit me in the head every time.
Well, I can't wait to start using LBX AC20s.
They're great.
I was gonna be messing around with a king crab build with double LBX 20s.
There's
wait
a
for
reason
you
I'm
to
in a
fi-
light mech.
Can't wait for you to find the investor to afford that one.
Sure.
Assault, SDLF plus
Custom.
clan bonus, custom. Yeah. Oh.
It's just a cool 25 wealth.
All right. And for the investors at home, your current level of wealth will remain and carry over into the beginning of the show. And then you will gain 1 wealth weekly. That's you at home, audience. Yes, I know. I didn't forget about you. This whole thing has been mostly for me, but it's also slightly for you. Just slightly. However, they don't get it. The public doesn't get it immediately for one reason, because we talked about so many spoilers in this.
Yeah.
So the Patreon has to get their look at it first.
Makes sense.
Any closing thoughts? Because we're coming up on 2 hours here. But, well, maybe before closing thoughts, I wanted to... I don't want to say circle back again. That's too painful. I want to say next Thursday and the Thursday after it, would you all be interested in joining me, same time, same place, for the Urban Mech demo? Just like a complete free-for-all using your characters. Are you thumbs upping?
I'm triple thumbs upping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does
Sure.
that include the non?
Yep. Everybody. I'm opening it up to Stonar, who isn't even here right now.
Yeah, no.
Good man.
I want to have the. You guys said you wanted it. I want to make it happen.
So here's the question: are we allowed to bring custom urban mechs to the Urban Mech Derby?
No,
Let's open it to the floor.
You drive what you're given, right?
That's right.
That would
roll
be
on the
funny.
Irby
If it was
table.
just it was a random Irby variant. You have no idea what you're going
I like
in
that.
until.
Roll for the Arrow 4
Or you
mech.
all
There
show
aren't
up
that
and
many Irby variants.
you all switch mechs, right? So you don't know who's you're going to end up with, right?
Yeah.
Everybody brings a custom urban mech, and you have to white elephant it before the before the match.
Oh, there's actually someone that does own an urban mech. So what if he could bring his own?
Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
like
it's
the
a stock
idea-
63. I mean, that's what I was
okay.
going to have everybody pilot was the
Stock 63.
Works for me.
R63, which is
Urban
a
mech is an urban mech to me.
LBX 10 with the small pulse laser. I think is its full.
Oh, so you have to make people choose if they want to do the cluster or the physical. Or
Yeah,
the slug.
and you only get one ammo bin.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the idea of a grab bag of urban variants.
Okay. I mean, how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, random.
I think it's fun to do a random Irby variant, so we don't
For
even
sure.
know.
Okay.
Yeah, man, I also prefer the random.
I'm into it. Sure.
It's
I
if you're
cannot
going
wait for
do
someone
an
to get the
urban mech
Arrow
demo,
4.
you might as well go.
I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like
like-
I'm going to limit it to the 50, the 60L, and the 63 because
That's
everything
fair.
after that is like MRMs and snub nose PPCs and,
Yeah.
and Arrow
So
4.
no jihad urban mechs.
Yeah, no thanks. Just those three, and we'll see who comes out on top as the top urban mech pilot of the stable. Yeah,
Exhibition match. Yeah.
I don't know. Dunamis, can I get Sidious to make like a? No, I'll use one of the moon maps. I'll use one of the moon maps for sure, since they're pretty open, but they also have some blocking terrain.
Are you
Why
going
don't
to
you
use the
use the,
rules?
Solaris
Out of space
arena?
rules?
No, I'm not going to make it like a space map, but I'm going to use one of the ones that are just like a giant crater. You know what I'm talking about?
Do the
I would say
Solaris
you could
open
also-
jungle.
There's
Ooh,
a Solaris
I
map
don't
that you could use.
You mean the one we did the Kenneth Cross battle in?
Yeah.
That's too much work on my part. I already have to do that for Boreal Reach. Dab Up was a nightmare. Not just because everybody ganged up on me.
I got locked on the other side. I couldn't gang up on you at all.
I know the walls literally just completely ruined me. All right, let me write down here. Next 2 Thursdays, Urban Mech demo rally. Let's call
You
it
think it's going to last that long?
No, it's the trash can derby.
Trash
the
Can
first,
Derby.
the first
It's-
match is just
it's
going to
an
take
in-
everyone
it's
getting
an-
into range.
So this is an in canon thing that they do this on Solaris. Is they just have everybody pilots an urban mech, and it's a free for all.
We'll call it a
Spots.
charity match.
Sponsored by the Solaris Waste Management.
Wait.
They're all
wasn't that-
green.
Wasn't that in the BattleTech video game?
I
as
like
well?
it.
I think so.
Like, I think that there was an event in which you participated in an urban.
Yeah,
mech.
there was a one of those little mini missions that was pretty funny.
Yeah. I don't know about including Duncan Fisher in the future, though, again, for copyright
I mean-
reasons. But I do like Duncan Fisher. And he is a mech warrior during this time, not a Solaris announcer.
Yeah.
Like, again, it feels like it would be so amazing, but
I don't know. Here's the
also
question.
so suable.
Does George
About-
Ledoux have a cameo account?
Yes, he does. You
But I
can
don't
pay
think
him.
George Ledoux owns the rights.
He
to
does
Duncan
not own
Fisher.
the right to the character.
Rip.
But you can get him to voice over as Duncan Fisher.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wait.
I don't know. Tex
mean,
hasn't
Tex-
gotten
I was gonna
sued
say-
for
I was
having
gonna say,
George
yeah, Tex-
Ledoux.
Yeah, I was
on
about
Tex
to
does
say,
it.
didn't
Does it.
Tex have do a Duncan Fisher bit?
I am not here to discuss the legality of Texas.
Tex, yeah.
Yeah,
Of the
like-
TTL.
Battletech.
I am no copyright expert. All I want to say is I watch his videos. Some of them seem like they skirted a little close. Specifically, his Dixie parody feels like maybe.
Well, so that's fine because it's a parody.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
that's fair use. Yeah.
That's how you get away with it if you can do a parody. Because SNL does it all the time.
Okay.
All right, guys, I need to run.
Yep.
Okay.
That's too.
Guys,
There's a
thank
lot
you
of
so
fun.
much for participating. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Been a lot of fun.
I'll be around for a few more minutes if you have anything to say, but I'm cutting the recording here. Thank you for participating in the Solaris Nights playtest.
Than 'Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. It's been a great experience.